everyone, my name is Madison Scherer and I am currently a dancer for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. I've done about 2 contracts with Royal and I'm about to start my 3rd, so I figured I kind of wanted to start a little video series just about what it's like to be a crew member on board, what it's like to be a dancer on board, take some videos maybe through the ports that I'm going on, and just give you guys kind of a little bit of an insight of what it's like to work for a cruise line, whether you are a dancer looking to work on cruise ships or if you're just curious about what it's like to work for cruise lines in general. So in this video, I wanted to do just a little bit of a Q&A about your general questions of what it's like working for a cruise line. Okay, so I've got my notebook here full of questions that I have been asked. A lot of my crew members have been asked just about what it's like working on a cruise ship in general. So let's get into it. First question, what does a typical day of work look like? I think on a ship it's hard to say what typical is. Every ship is different, every crew member is different, every job is different, even having the guests on makes things different. But for dancers, I would say that you can split our job into 2 kind of days. You either have non-show days or show days. So we'll start with show days. On a show day, in the morning, you'll have a tech run. Right after tech run is usually lunchtime, so we'll then go to lunch. Some people will go to gym, some people will get off the ship, some people will go take a nap, whatever. I usually stay up. I like to go to the gym or get off the ship, get outside, get some air. And then we'll come back on the ship or come back to our cabins and we'll start getting ready for our shows. I usually like to start doing my makeup and hair for a show around 4 o'clock-ish. I like to be done really early. I can take a very short amount of time. I think the fastest I've ever done my makeup for a show was about 10 minutes, but I usually give myself an hour and a half for hair and makeup. And so then when I am finished with my hair and makeup, I will either go back deck and grab a coffee or go to the mess and make myself a coffee and just sit with it and relax, just so that I am fully prepared for the night that's ahead of me. I personally don't eat dinner before a show. I don't recommend it. I just feel very ill when I have a full stomach and I'm doing kind of physical, intense, cardio-based activity. Then our call time for the show is about an hour before. So you want to go backstage, do all of your presets. If you have wigs, bring your wigs downstairs, bring all your costumes downstairs, put everything where it needs to be. If you have any props, you need to preset those before the show. And then you want to make sure that you're warm and you're stretched before, your shoes are taken care of, your lipstick's on, your lashes are on, everything is ready for you to go when the show starts. And then we'll have our first show. The times really depend on the ships. I've had a lot of different start times for shows, early and quite late. So I think that that's quite hard to say, but usually you'll have about an hour between each show. So the first show will finish, you'll have an hour. Within that hour, you have pretty much 30 minutes to do whatever you want, whether you want to take care of your presets in that time, if you want to go back deck and grab a coffee or a Red Bull or water or a snack, whatever. And then 30 minutes before is your call time for the second show. That way you have time to still do your presets, whatever. You just don't need as much time because you're already warm from the first show. And then you do the second show, and then after the second show is finished, you have to put everything away. You need to spray your costumes or put them in the laundry if it's wash day for them. You need to put them back, put all of your wigs back, make sure that your bit bag's taken care of, that your towel's taken care of, that your cubby that you have is cleaned up and prepared for either the headliner who is going to be there the next day or whatever activity is going to be there that may need your space, or so it's clean for your next show. After that's done, we have something called show food, which is it's either in the theater or the mess or a different location where we can eat, because a lot of us don't eat dinner before a show and you always want to refuel after a show, after you've done 2 quite intense shows. So we'll go to that area and we will eat and enjoy and relax after all of that hard work that we did. And then after that, your day is done. So you need to make sure that you do your Chronos, which is our time in, time out system. And then you can do whatever you want for your night. You can go back deck and grab a drink. You can go to your room and go grab a shower, whatever makes you happy. So that would be a typical show day for us. Usually I put in between 6 to 8 hours of work on a show day, sometimes more. It really depends on what's going on in that day. So, a non show day for us would usually be a lot more chill. Um, if it's the first day of the cruise, sometimes you'll have muster, which is our safety briefing with the guests. You won't have it every turnaround cruise, usually. There is a rotation because there are enough people in the cast to have an off day for that for some people. If you are on the Voyager class or above, or if there's an ice show on your ship, you will have to work the ice shows. That's going to be either spotting or dressing. So you're either a spotlight and you do this for the whole show, or you're helping the skaters in and out of their costumes. You could have parade on an off day, which is one of our entertainment activities. Each show has a different one. So far I have done the Anchors Away parade and I've done the Royal Palooza parade, and the next ship that I'm about to go to has Anchors Away again. So that is another thing that we do have to do. We have our welcome aboard show, which we call Smile. It's quick, 5 minutes, just twice on the first night of the show. And then on the last day of the show, you'll also have Farewell, which is another quick little performance, 5-10 minutes-ish. And a lot of times they'll bring the crew members on stage at the end to wave just to say goodbye and thank you so much for coming to cruise with us. Other than that, sometimes we get a couple of little odds and ends of things that we need to do. So we do some balloon blowing. A lot of times on ships, especially if there's a holiday, there's a big balloon drop in the Royal Promenade, which is really, really fun for the guests. But those balloons do have to get blown up, which is usually by the casts, the ice cast, the dance cast, the orchestra, basically the cruise division. Sometimes we'll do some meet and greets with some guests. It really depends on what's asked for. I have had before where guests have specifically asked to have a meet and greet with us, and then we'll have one scheduled. So we'll go and have a chat with the guests and just answer any of the burning questions that they may have. Usually you have at least one thing to do on every single day that you work. I have had a couple of lucky experiences where I haven't had necessarily anything to do with my day. But for me, a part of our contract is that we go to the gym 6 days, it's either 5 or 6 days a week for an hour. I personally like to get into the gym every single day. So if I have nothing to do that day, the least I'll be doing is getting into the gym. Additionally, my last contract, I took on the wig supervisor role, which meant that I was just in charge of caring for the wigs. So making sure that things are curled nicely, sprayed, looking good all the time. So if I also didn't have anything to do that day, I was up backstage working on the wigs and just making sure that they were prepared for the next show. So I don't know if that was the answer that you were necessarily looking for. I think it's hard because, like I said at the beginning, our days aren't really typical. We don't have a super structured set of exactly what we work when. It kind of changes and depends. I mean, especially when you're in a reblock, when you have people that are sick, you're going to have extra rehearsals and extra things to do, which I can touch on in another video because I think that just makes it a little bit more complicated. So I do think that I could maybe do another video just on a week in the life of a cruise ship dancer, just so that you guys can see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. The next question is, what are the sleeping arrangements? So on the ship, it's kind of like dorm living. You have a roommate and it's bunk style beds, so nothing quite as big as the bed setup that I've got behind me. You have a tiny little twin bed and one stacked right above. A lot of times on the top bunk, you can't even sit up all the way straight. You're kind of like this if you want to sit up in your bed. So unless you're a dance captain or you're a singer or in an upper management position, you won't have your own cabin. Um, and it's so fine. It's kind of like having a built-in best friend. Like my roommate on my last two contracts is one of my favorite people in the world. And I'm so glad that we got to live together. It was like endless sleepovers, and it's really cool because your cabins are kind of next to everyone else's cabins. So especially within the cast, a lot of times you get very, very close with your castmates. They'll literally just be living like two doors down, and so you'll go and you go, knock knock, can I come hang out in your room? And it's kind of like dorm living. I think that's the best way to describe it. All right, so the next question is, do you get off in port and what is your favorite? Yes, we do get off in port. Our job is very, very lucky in that we can get off most days. On a show day, some people choose not to, especially if it's a tender port or a short port or something that's harder to get into the city for. But most of the time, we can get off the ship, grab a coffee or a bite to eat, explore a little bit, and then get back on. Non-show day is super easy. Just wake up whenever you want. If you want to wake up early and get off super early, more than welcome to. You just have to be back on in time to go to your shift. So my last contract, I was getting off just about every single day. The only port that I skipped out on a lot was Santorini, mostly because it was a show day for us, and then getting up really early in the morning, then to come back for a tech run that's still in the morning when you have a tender and you have to take a trolley or the stairs all the way up the side of the mountain. Um, I skipped on that one most of the time. We did not have shows twice in that port, and both of those times I did get off and loved it, made the most of those days. Um, I think that I'm gonna do a separate video on the ports that we went to my last contract, and which ones were my favorite, because I think it's so hard to say what your favorite place you've been to is when all of these places are so amazing and unique and have something special to offer in each of the places that you go to. How long are you on board and how do the contracts work? So for dancers, usually contracts are between 6 and 10 months. 2 of those months will usually be spent in Miami in rehearsals. And then you board the ship for either 4 to 6 months. So my first contract was about 10 months from start to finish, I think. 2 months in Miami and then 8 months on board. My last contract ended up being around, I think it was 8 months total, maybe a little bit less because we did get shortened by 3 weeks. And then my next contract is going to be 10 months, so 2 months in Miami and then 8 months on board. Other companies have different rules. Royal, I think, has offered 11-month contracts before as well. So I've never heard of a contract being less than 6 months before, but it can go within any of that time frame. How did the contracts work? You are sent an email with a contract offer. You get a version A, or a proposal, you sign it or accept it, and then you get a whole bunch more information. You get a contract A, a B, a C, an LOE, a bunch of other things that you have to sign and pretty much give your permission to the company, and prove that you are wanting and willing to do this. There are some rules in your contract about what you can and cannot do within your contract, and if you break certain rules in your contract, you are eligible to be fired, but you know this when you sign your contract. So as long as you stay within those guidelines and you fulfill your duties, you're good to go and you will get rehired. If there are more specific questions about the contracts, I will be happy to answer what I can answer about them. just leave, I guess, a comment below or just send me a message and I will do my best to answer that question. What do you do in your free time? I think this very much depends on how I'm feeling. So, like I said earlier in one of the before questions, I do love to go to the gym. It is a part of our contract, so it's kind of hard to say that it's our free time versus our not free time. I like to get in the gym at least 5 times a week. Sometimes if life is happening and I can't get in the gym as much as I want to, at least 5 times a week, whether that's weightlifting or some yoga or stretching. That's usually what I prefer to do. There's also a track on the ship that you can use. So I usually walk around the ship. Or I get off in port and walk all over the port. I was easily meeting my 10,000 step goals over in Europe this past contract. So that's one of the things that I do in my free time. If it's a sea day or it's really sunny and I'm on the ship, I do like to go get a little bit of a tan. I do watch a lot of movies and TV series in my cabin. It's just a little easy way to get out of your head. So I have a hard drive that I carry with me that has tons of TV and movies that I have stolen from other cast members. A lot of times we do a hard drive swap and we just see what shows and movies we each have and we'll take from each other and share. It's a great way to build up your library per se of media. Another thing I like to do is I love getting off in port. My first contract didn't get off too much. It was Miami, Nassau, and Coco Cay. I always got off in Miami and I always got off in Coco Cay, but a lot of times I would skip Nassau. It's a little bit of an expensive port for me. It's not really my favorite. There are good things about it. It's a fun place to go if you're going once, but when you're going twice a week for 8 months, it starts to be a little bit of the same old, same old. So my last contract, I was getting off the ship pretty much every day. I would rarely skip out on a port unless it was a show day because I loved being in Europe so much. There was so much to see and there was so much to offer. So I will say that was probably how I spent most of my free time was off the ship. I went on a couple of excursions. We rented a boat one day. I always loved to get lunch off the ship. My favorite thing to get was a gyro and a Coke Zero in Greece. The best meal ever. My next contract, we go back to Greece, and I think that might be one of the things that I'm looking forward to most is getting a gyro. So those are the easiest ways to spend your free time. For me, I love to journal and I love to read, so I would do those both quite frequently. I feel like it is pretty easy to keep up with your hobbies that you have on land, on the ship. You just have to dedicate the time and have the self-discipline for it. Okay, so the last question is how much can and do you pack? I do think I'm gonna do a separate pack with me for my next contract video since that is coming up in about a month. But I'll give a quick rundown on the rules of what you're allowed to bring and then what I have packed for previously. So you can bring 2 checked bags, a carry-on, and a personal item. The ship will pay, or Royal Caribbean will pay for all of these bags. If you want to bring extra, you need to pay for the extras yourself. So my first contract, I overpacked so much, which how do you not? You don't know what you're getting into. You've never been on a ship before. You see all these rules and you don't really know what they mean. So it's really easy to pack way too much, which I did. I ended up sending my parents home when they came to visit me with a full suitcase of clothes. That was a checked bag. And then I brought home 2 full checked bags, a full carry-on, and still my personal item. My next contract, I packed a lot less and I came home with even less. So basically, What I like to do is have a couple of business casual outfits. The ship calls it smart casual, but for me, I personally would prefer to be a little overdressed than underdressed. And I know that smart casual doesn't really have as strict of a boundary as business casual. So the way that it was explained to me when I did my first contract was if you're not comfortable wearing this to church or a more formal gathering, you probably shouldn't be wearing it in guest area. So I love to have two pairs of black slacks. I have a like leather legging style pair, and then I have a more business casual traditional pair. I will bring two or three different blousey style tops. I will bring two dresses that are more smart casual, leaning over into cocktail. Just to have some options, and then you have a formal night on every ship. I would either say a maxi dress or a midi length dress. The one that I'm using right now is a midi length dress, and then I do have a floor length jumpsuit that is really cute for when I just want a little bit more coverage. Um, some ships have different rules. It really depends on your cruise director and your hotel director about what is appropriate and not appropriate. Some of them are very, very strict to the original rules of Royal Caribbean, which is like heels that are not more than 2 or 3 inches, no rings or jewelry. If you're married, you can wear your wedding band, only 2 pairs of matching earrings. Some of them are very strict with this, and some of them are a little bit more lenient. So I do love to accessorize. I do love jewelry. So I will pack jewelry, and then I will leave it to me to decide on what I think is okay and what I think I should just stay away from, as to not push any rules or any boundaries. Um, I always pack a pair of nude heels and a pair of black heels. I always pack sneakers, usually 2 pairs of sneakers for running or training, and then a casual pair of sneakers that are a little bit more dressy so that I can wear them off of port if I'm dressed up nicely. I'll have going off in port clothes. Usually I'll have some jean shorts. I just bought a new pair of jeans, so I will be bringing those on my next contract. I love cute, like little crop tops. I bring a ton of those. I always bring sweatshirts and sweatpants because inside of the ship does get really cold, and when you're in crew area, you can kind of wear whatever you want. You'll usually see me walking around the ship in a oversized hoodie and some athletic shorts or some sweatpants. And then you always gym clothes for us. When you're in rehearsals, you wear your gym clothes all day. And then on the ship for tech run and for your gym hours, you have your athletic wear to wear. For working, you also need your blues, which is the uniform that they give us. I have a pair of blue shorts that I like to wear with my blues top, just because the pants that they give you, it does get very, very hot in the Caribbean and in the Mediterranean during the summer. I don't really want to be sweat city while I'm doing musters, so I do have an appropriate pair of blue shorts to wear, and then you have to wear white sneakers with your blues uniform. So I always make sure that one of my pairs of sneakers is white. And then I pack all of my makeup, my show makeup, lashes, everything, all of my toiletries. I always bring a towel, a blanket, and some other stuff. And a lot of times when I'm packing, I will pack stuff that I know that I will use, but that I won't want to bring home because I don't think it will suit me for moving forward. This way I'm kind of cleaning out my closet, but I'm also getting use out of these items, and then I can pass it on to another crew member or leave it behind for the next cast moving forward. But like I said, I'll definitely go way more in depth in my next video. Okay, so I think that that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to see more, you can go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button. In my next video, I think it will be a pack with me video or maybe another Q&A, but both of those will be coming. And then when I get to rehearsals, I'll do some day in the life of rehearsing with me and getting prepared for the ship, and maybe like a little bit of a Miami blog, fun things to do over there. So yeah, thank you guys so much. This was fun to do, so I'll see you for the next one.